Good day, everyone. I am Charmaine Nicor, and together with Jen Jumao-As and Kate Dian Serafika, we will be exploring research paradigms, which are positivism, interpretivism, and pragmatism. But before we start, what is research philosophy? Well, it is a framework that guides how research should be conducted based on ideas about reality and the nature of knowledge. And so I will begin with positivism. So, to explain it in a simpler manner, it is a way of thinking that relies on facts, things that we can see, touch, or measure, rather than just believing in things that are not easy to show or prove. And so here's the philosophical underpinnings. So first is that the ontological position of positivism is one of realism, where objects exist independently of our knowledge. So this means that there is a reality that can be discovered and is separate from the researcher. Then moving on, there is the positivist epistemology, which is all about objectivity. So positivists aim to uncover absolute knowledge about an objective reality, approaching the world impartially. And second to the list is axiology, wherein positivism relies heavily on objectivity, and so this dismisses the importance of individual subjective experiences. And lastly is pragmatism, which it attaches great significance to the practical efficacy of our concepts and theories. And moving on is the key assumptions. So to concisely explain this is our knowledge that comes from things that we can see and experience. So such as when we talk about facts and reality, we should stick to what we can prove or show, like in the field of science and mathematics. And here's a table illustrated by Pisum and Mansfield in 2009 to better understand the assumptions of positivism. You can pause it to better your understanding. And here's the methodological approaches. So quantitative methods are used by researchers who adopt positivist approach because they believe that the nature of human behavior and society is objective and can be scientifically measured. And quantitative methods can emphasize the objective measurements through numbers like statistical and numerical analysis. And so the typical positivist primary research methods are in laboratory experiments, social surveys, structured questionnaires, and the likes. And so here's an example so that to illustrate how it is used in real life. So as you can see, it is applicable in various industries such as in marketing and finance, and most of them use it to see if there is a causal relationship between the variables, such as in the first example is alcohol marketing, and you thinking have a causal relationship. And so moving on is the strengths and weaknesses, and basically the strength of positivism realized that it is objective, it has offers quantifiable data, and it is observable and has measurable factors. On the other hand, it lacks in-depth insights. It assumes that all types of processes can be perceived as a certain variation. And lastly, it relies on experience as a valid source of knowledge. Now, Kate Serafika will be reporting.
Interpretivism, a word that is quite new, however, simultaneously everywhere in the midst of non-positivist researchers and scholars, by Aliu et al. 2014. So what is interpretivism? Interpretivism is developed through critique of positivism and subjective perspective, and it talks about how humans are different from physical things, because to understand humans it requires many different factors and variables, because they create a deeper meaning compared to understanding physical things. Interpretivism recognizes that various factors such as cultural differences, circumstances, and time can result in the creation of diverse social realities. It is sensitive to individual meanings and contributions rather than being compromised by the positivist research philosophy. Interpretations combines various methods, including social constructivism, phenomenology, and hermeneutics. It rejects objectivist views and asserts the meaning exists independently in the world. This philosophical position is related to idealism. The philosophical underpinnings of interpretivism consists of relativist ontology, subjective epistemology, axiology, and pragmatism. Relativist ontology interpretivists believe that reality is a social construct and that there are multiple ways to access it. They emphasize on individual interpretation and subjectivity, meaning that people can create their own unique meanings of events. Therefore, researchers must clarify their perception of reality and how things function. Ultimately, reality is constructed indirectly based on individual interpretations. Subjective epistemology, interpretivism, is an approach that links research and subjects under investigation, assuming that knowledge cannot be separated from humans. It suggests that reality is socially constructed through experiences and leads to findings that are created as the investigation progresses. In this paradigm, knowledge is derived culturally and ideologies are accepted without questioning. Subjective epistemology posits that knowledge is constructed individually or socially through personal experiences and perceptions, and captured through systematic analysis and interpretation by the researcher. Axiology refers to the philosophical study of values and ethics. So a balanced axiology indicates that research outcomes will inevitably reflect the values of the researcher, thus having the researcher maintain integrity and transparency throughout the process. Pragmatism, however, bridges the gap between older structuralist approaches and newer naturalistic methods. Pragmatist interpretive theory aims to understand how people interpret social situations and others' intentions and motivations. So these are the key assumptions of interpretivism. So number one, that there are multiple realities and are socially constructed. Number two, that the goal of the research is to reach understanding and have usually a weak prediction. Number three, the focus of interest is what is specific, unique, and deviant. Number four, the generated knowledge has meanings and is relative to time, context, culture, and value bond. Number five, the subject and the researcher has an interactive, cooperative, and participative relationship. And lastly, the desired information is to get what people think and do, what problems they face, and how they deal with it. The interpretivist approach to research involves collecting and analyzing data that is specific to a particular context and viewpoint. Unlike physical sciences, where objective observations can be made, human and social sciences rely on subjective interpretations of behavior. Interpretivists use theories and strategies to guide data collection, carefully selecting research sites and interviewees based on relevant theoretical considerations. This approach makes it difficult to generalize findings as data is highly dependent on the unique circumstances surrounding it. The interpretivism the paradigm focuses on understanding research participants' experiences and beliefs. Researchers can describe reality based on their assumptions and beliefs while considering the specific context of the research and its participants. This approach ensures that research is more focused on a particular topic and avoids generalization. The interpretivist paradigm assumes that researching people's cultures can help understand their perceptions, ideas, thinking, and the meanings that are significant to them. An example topic is the challenges women face for their professional development. A researcher might want to investigate how and to what extent one is how it becomes a professional person, how they learn to overcome to how they can learn to fight social, cultural, economic, and other obstacles, and the extent to which economic and cultural forces adopting an interpretive stance researchers can delve deeply into the social reality. So by adopting an interpretive stance, researchers can delve deeply into the social reality involves collecting information individuals narrative interviews, which may be more or less subjective, collecting information through narrative interviews, which may be more or less subjective, specific as the individuals are accumulated experiences, beliefs, and views. As such, researchers consider the data are influenced by certain value systems that are constructed uniquely by exploring individuals. As such, researchers consider the data as accounts of the truth that are constructed uniquely by the challenges women face for their professional development. A researcher might want to investigate the adoption of the interpretivism paradigm can result in the generation of high-quality data validity because it takes into account personal contributions of various variables. One of the benefits of this paradigm is the interpretivist scholars can use their diverse viewpoints on phenomena to gain a deep understanding of objects, people, or events within their social cultural context because they believe that they share belief systems with the society they live in. Moreover, the studies conducted in the interpretivist paradigm can use different methodologies such as narrative study, case study, and ethnography as they provide in-depth life experiences of narrators who are the social actors of that constitute their culture. The data gathered using the interpretivism paradigm can provide valuable insights for academics to take future action. The first weakness of interpretivism is that interpretive research relies on the perspective of participants, which may overlook the impact of social context on them. Also, the subjective nature of this approach can lead to researcher bias. Number two, interpretive research may not be applicable to all situations because it is based on small sample sizes and focuses on understanding specific phenomena in their social context rather than generalizing findings. Interpretive research may have biased conclusions because it focuses on the subjective experiences of participants, which can be influenced by the researcher's personal biases. Interpretive research may not consider the political and ideological effects on information and social reality, which can limit its usefulness in understanding larger societal issues. And lastly, interpretive research may not always be suitable for all research questions or able to anticipate unexpected behaviors during data collection. So application in different research. Interpretive research is a type of research that involves researchers explaining the meaning behind the research. In this type of research, the researchers incorporate their own beliefs and ideas and explore human language to understand and share meanings in qualitative research. Critical research is a type of research that aims to challenge power, imbalances, and investigates issues of social injustice and equity. It focuses on the perspectives of marginalized groups. So choosing the right research application depends on the research questions and goals. Researchers need to weigh the pros and cons of each approach and select the most suitable one.
The third paradigm is pragmatism, and it takes a more practical and flexible approach, focusing on the usefulness and applicability of research findings. So, a pragmatist has a problem solving mindset, and they always seek the best methods to investigate real world problems. So, they use multiple sources of data and information. And they interpret the world and they conduct research to investigate reality in many different ways. So, here are the important contributors of the paradigm, starting from the founder, Charles Peirce, followed by William James and John Dewey. Pragmatism embraces the idea that there can be single or multiple realities subject to empirical inquiry. So here are the philosophical underpinnings. So starting with ontology, it emphasizes the dynamic nature of reality as shaped by human experiences. And axiology, values are relative and situational, which is why it is either objective or subjective. So with epistemology, knowledge is always based on experience, which is why it is also uniquely shared. And knowledge is a construct created to better manage one's existence and actively participate in the world.
which is why in methodology, it emphasizes the use of multiple methods and the importance of adapting research to specific contexts and goals. And it uses both or either qualitative and quantitative methods. So pragmatism has a real world focus. It improves our understanding of the real world. It is anti-dualism. It emphasizes on the interconnectedness of things. Empiricism, it is relying on empirical methods to gather evidence and test hypotheses. It is outcome-oriented. It is a method judged by its ability to achieve desired outcomes and solve real-world problems. Instrumentalism, so its tools, it is being used for practical purposes, not ends in themselves. And pluralism, the methodology embraces different approaches and methods, choosing the one that best suits the research question and context. So pragmatism incorporates both quantitative and qualitative data, allowing the research to develop a more holistic, comprehensive understanding of the topic, issue, or problem with a synthesis of different types of data. Example, so the topic is effectiveness of a new teaching method in improving student learning outcomes. So the research objectives would be, how does the new teaching method affect the standardized test results? Is there a significant difference in the standardized test results with the new teaching method? And what are the teaching method preferences of the students? So to collect these data, the researchers, or in a pragmatist paradigm, they will use a mixed approach method or mixed method approach. So they analyze the test results and they conduct in-person interviews. So the strength of pragmatism is it develops a holistic analysis and it is useful when unexpected results arise from prior study. It also helps in generalizing data and it gives out practical consequences and empirical explanations. However, it also lacks moral basis, and sometimes it overemphasizes practicality and subjectivizes truth and overemphasizes on utility as well. So pragmatism in research is using broad methods, various methods, which is why it is flexible and adaptable to different contexts of research, and it focuses on problem solving. And because of its broad scope, it emphasizes on collaboration, and it is often a practice when pragmatism is being used. And openness to revision. Findings are not seen as absolute truths, but as tentative solutions that may be revised based on new evidence or changing circumstances. So to summarize all three paradigms, positivism relies on facts, things we can see, touch, or measure, rather than just believing in things that are not easy to show or prove. Therefore, it uses quantitative research methods. Interpretivism. So it takes a subjective perspective on reality, and that reality is socially constructed. So therefore, it uses qualitative research methods. And pragmatism uses both qualitative and quantitative methods, and it has a much more practical and flexible approach that aims to solve problems. It focuses on the usefulness and applicability of research findings. So this is used when the study doesn't fall into a clear-cut category. So all these are frameworks into which the theories and practices of your discipline fit to create the research plan. So it serves as a guide to the research plan, including the aim of the study, research question, instruments or measurements used, and the analysis methods.